So in this episode of Stuff I Like to Do, I'm going to get into one of my favorite training exercises, and I'll be honest with you, I can't believe that I actually haven't made a video on this before. And one of the things that I do is when I'm training, I'm always trying to find ways to better control my body. The better you can control your body, the more successful you're probably going to be in a real situation. You know, a real fight is chaotic and crazy, and we get that. However, if you can control your body, if you can control overcommitting in your movement, it goes a long ways towards you being effective, because you simply don't have as much to recover from. In other words, the more unnecessary movement I have with my body, particularly my arms, the more time it takes for me to recover from mistakes. So I try to, at a minimum, minimize the amount of unnecessary movement, whether it's unnecessary preparatory movement, whether it's just superfluous motions in general. I try to control my body. And one of the training aids, and this is really an offshoot of something that Grandmaster Perkins made, but I've kind of made it a little more fancy. And that is using something very similar to like those rings you see in Wing Chun, Bagua, Singyi, and other arts, where they have like these wooden rings where they do their techniques within and outside of the ring. And, it's excellent for training your body to move more efficiently. So what we use, and what Grandmaster Perkins did, was he just took, a piece of rope and tied it off at the ends, and he put it on my arms, because I had a tendency in the beginning to move too much with my arms, and my arms were just flapping around all over the place. So what I've done here is I've made this ring. I call it the ring of death, because everything in Warrior Flow has something to do with death, right? And what I did was I just daisy chained it off, and then I tied it off at the ends. And I'll probably do a video on how I make these things. It's not rocket science, but I find that instead of just having a piece of rope where you tie it, by having something like this, it's a little easier on the arms when you start getting crazy. But the idea behind it is to use this to learn how to move and control the over travel or over commitment in your arms. Later in another video, I'm probably going to show you how you can practice this with a partner where you have the ring on. And one of the things I found was it really helped me get a lot more control over my hands, a lot more control over my arms, where my arms weren't doing all these different things of just flailing all over the place. So the way you use this when you're practicing on your own is you slip your hands in here. Now, whether you're using your hands or whether you want to bring it up, on your elbow joint, I do both. And what I do is I just start moving and then moving my body. Sometimes I flip it over, sometimes I change the shape. But what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use this rope, to limit unnecessary movement. So as I'm doing this, maybe I'll put a little tension on it. And what I can do now is I can limit how much unnecessary movement I create in my arms till I can get this kind of feel where I can move inside of this ring effortlessly. I also like to bring it up again, as I showed before, and I'll turn it sideways so you can see this, right up above the elbow joint. And the reason for that is to get over the habit of bringing the elbows out too much. If you see boxers, boxers are very big on not having their elbows fly all over the place, because it exposes your body a little more. But what this also does is it forces you, when you want to use your arms, to have to reposition your body. And it's just another way in which you can flow and do these things. And the idea is you're just trying to gain greater control over your arms, and that it doesn't mean that I'm going to fight like this. No, it's just an idea. But it's another training aid that you can use to develop the ability to be able to do things where you're controlling unnecessary movement using the rope or even a ring as a restrictor to prevent you from tensing up too much or pulling too hard. As I'm doing this, I can feel the tension. And so if I don't want too much tension, I just lighten my arms and I move my arms a little more. But I try to keep the rope or the ring above the elbows when I'm practicing like this. If it's on the hands, I try to move in a way where I keep the rings around the hands. And again, it's just an idea of another way in which you can practice this kind of movement, whereas you're learning how to control the over movement or over travel or over commitment with your arms. Once you take it off, you're gonna feel right in here in the shoulder area and in the trapezius area, you're gonna feel a fluidness, because you're gonna realize in order to be able to move like that, you gotta use your whole body. You gotta get the whole body involved in this kind of motion, or else you're just gonna get tense. So, like I said, this is just one of the other things I like to do. You know, I can't believe, like I said before, I haven't made a video like this before, but it's a great, great training aid. And there's just a whole host of other things you can do just by practicing with that thing.